Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP, and UFO. I still flub on my intro sometimes. There you go. What can you do? Before we get started with today's show, we got a fun one. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Just want to say thank you to KGRADB. We normally broadcast every Thursday. Today, Bill, our producer, is out of town. So there are no live shows on KGRADB. Have a feeling it's just a bunch of reruns right now. But we'll be back there next Thursday. So definitely join us. Do we move to our new time next Thursday? I think we do. Guys, do we move to our next time next Thursday?
I think so.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, I'd be asking you, Lou.
Yeah, it's a good question for me. I should know the answer to that. I should know the answer to this. I believe we do. I believe we move to our new time next Thursday from 5 to 7 East Coast or West Coast PDT, Pacific Daylight Time. So that's 8 to 10 on the East Coast. So we're right there in the prime time slot. I believe we're taking over the I can't remember whose slot we're taking over. Anyway, let's get on with the show.
Move over, Jay Leno.
Move over, Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien. Here comes the Unidentified Celebrity Review. So want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all the tunes you hear on the show. I was just telling these guys, like, I've been listening to snippets of the new album. I have no idea when it's coming. I've been saying it's coming for at least a year. And Kevin's a perfectionist with his music, so I'm telling you, it's awesome. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. I want to also remind you guys that this show is available on Spotify and iTunes. As soon as the show's over, I try to post it as quickly as I can. So check us out there. Leave us a rate review. It goes a very long way. I want to say thank you to the Patreon members, the YouTube members, the Super Chatters, the moderators. Thank you guys so much for supporting this show in the way that you do. It truly helps us. We are a public access channel. We're supported by viewers like you. So if you can donate to the Patreon, awesome. That would be amazing. If you can't, don't sweat it. All of the content here is free. There is no paywall. So all we ask is just leave us a like, a share, subscribe if you're enjoying the channel. It goes a very, very, very long way to help us in the algorithm that is YouTube. And let's see here. We're also a StreamYard affiliate. Speaking of affiliates, I can't speak for Jane and Rather, but I am a member of the 42, the UAP Society that Chris Lato has started. It's a cryptocurrency sort of initiative. I've got a link if you want to check it out in the description below. You can check out both of those links. I do recommend, like with any investment, make sure that you do your research before you invest any money. And if you're in one of those positions where if you're going to be upset if you lose this money, don't invest. don't invest in it. But yeah, I mean, cryptocurrency seems to be something that is coming. Web3 is coming. This new metaverse is coming, and there's going to be a currency that goes with it. So, I guess a disclosure coin kind of thing is pretty cool. But again, go check it out. Link is in the description. Let's see here. What else? I think that's it. Yeah. I want to say hello to Jane and Rather. Rather wasn't supposed to be here.
It's supposed to be in Huntsville right now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in Alabama at the SEU conference. Well, you would
I'll
have been
get
on
there.
a plane, right? You wouldn't have.
Yeah, be touching down about now, but yeah.
Okay. Well, damn. Well, all right. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So, okay, obviously, you were supposed to be landing there right now. You're catching a red eye tonight, so you'll be there tomorrow morning. What's the plan? Like, what are you going to get into when you get there?
Yeah, it'll be my first UFO event in person, so I don't really know what to expect. I think the activities kick off around 4 p.m. tomorrow, so it gives me a time to maybe take a little nap in my hotel room, and then hopefully meet some people, talk some UFO science. You can see I see the attendee list. There's a lot of really cool people there, really people that I think you'd all recognize, and hope to tap some of them on the shoulder and pick their ears, pick their minds.
And who are some of the people? I know you mentioned somebody before we started the stream.
I saw Eric Davis's name up there, as well as Jay Stratton and some other kind of big people who are involved with the UAP task force and some of these kind of behind the scenes people in the know. So
Jay Stratton's going to be there.
I saw his name on the attendee list anyway.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
Jay Stratton.
yeah. And, John
Oh, I don't-
Alexander is giving
I don't know
a
that
talk as
name.
well. He's a speaker. I think
Okay.
he was the UAP task force leader, kind of when it was the UAP task force, after ATIP and all that. And I believe he was also involved in some of the Skinwalker Ranch NIDS studies as well. So
John Alexander was.
There's an
I think
Instagram
maybe
for Jay Stratton, fizzy lift and drinks. I don't know if that's the same.
No, I don't
That's
think
his
that's the
caption.
same. I don't think that's the same James Stratton.
A straw hat on. And
James Stratton was part of the Navy, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember his exact title, but I know he was chief of something. Like he had a pretty high title.
There's so many names. It's so hard to keep up with. Like increasingly hard to keep up with all the people.
But also just the military
disclosure.
But also the military jargon and acronyms that go along with their titles is also another thing that's just like, Jesus Christ. So you're right, it's a lot. But what were you going to say, rather?
Well, yeah, no, I'm sure I'm going to make a fool of myself when I address them incorrectly and give the acronyms incorrectly. But yeah, these are people that have seen the 23-minute videos and stuff. So it'll be very interesting to kind of see what their impressions are and how what they think about the issues. I'm looking forward to it.
Have you gotten yourself a selfie stick so you can maybe record some of these questions?
I don't have a selfie stick. I'll be bringing my my trusty iPhone there. Maybe get some audio clips, video clips. Right. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. See if you can. I mean, obviously, of course, ask them if it's okay to record. Tell them. I mean, you're part of the press.
Phone right in their face.
you're part of. Technically, you're part of the press, right? Like we've got the press pass. So
I'll do what I can. To be honest, so I'm most interested in what they might say, kind of off the record and off camera to me.
Well, I mean, do both. Do both.
Yeah. I'll do all that I can.
What would be your first question for, say, a Jay Stratton or a John Alexander or even an Eric Davis? Eric Davis, it seems like that's the one you're really interested in.
I mean, all of them really. And I mean, I need to think over tonight what my questions will be because I have so many, right? I'm really just kind of interested in how they talk about the issue, how they relate to it, how serious they kind of think it is and their what kind of bases their beliefs and what they've seen, if I can get any insight into the evidence that, can't be shown to us. That's, what I'm really interested in.
Aaron Desari also adds, Jay Stratton is Axelrod from the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. So
yes, I'm a little afraid of getting a hitchhiker. Yeah.
You think you can get a hitchhiker from him? Is that how the hitchhiker works?
I think that is how it works. Is it is a contagion? Hopefully the hitchhikerness has worn off on him. If,
oh my God, are the hitchhikers? Is this the strategy to get all of us UFO junkies out of the way? The hitchhikers are just going to get to us at every UFO conference. There's Disclosure Symposium. Amy, I know she went there. We got to check in with Amy, see if any hitchhikers followed her home. I'm half serious. I'm half joking and half serious here.
Well, yeah, me as well too. One of my theories is that this thing that's going on at Skinwalker Ranch, it might be some sort of virus. They talk about that in the Skinwalker book, that it's contagious and they compare it to COVID. Maybe there's some truth to that. And there is some sort of mind parasite, mind virus going around.
Man, but are viruses selective?
They definitely affect people different ways, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a supply and demand, right? So if you're a virus, you go after, I suppose, the weakest immune system that is around at the time.
I'll be drinking some vitamin C in my orange juice then. Yeah.
Maybe it's like
I'm not a virologist, guys.
Well, I mean, I'm not a virologist either, obviously, but I'm just saying, usually, if you put a virus within a community, eventually that community gets infected by the virus, depending on what, obviously, with different viruses come different things, but for most parts, they're a contagion. They're things that spread to not just one or two people, but everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what they describe in the Skinwalker book, right? The Axelrod character brought it home and spread it to his family, and then this family spread it to other people in the neighborhood. Right. So yeah, hopefully that event has calmed down and there's no risk at the SCU conference. I'm not actually that afraid, but it has crossed my mind.
Okay, so it's funny. Jeremy McGowan saying that there's no recording isn't allowed at the SCU conference.
I don't know about the SCU conference, but I believe if you're press, that's what they want you to do is record.
Right?
So
I'll be sure to read the booklet, the handouts, and abide by any.
Well, I'll talk to Rich. I'll give Rich Hoppin another heads up that you're coming, so that way there's no confusion. But Dushan Pereira, new member, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. Truly appreciate it. Thank you. So okay, well, I can't wait for you to get back from the SCU. So that's going to be interesting. These conferences, I mean, speaking of conference, we had one this weekend, and whoo, it was some backlash that came out of this conference. But I thought there was also some really cool things that happened at this conference. So I was part of one of them, which was fun. Again, I mentioned it at the top of the show. We'll get into it in a second. But before we do that, I wanted to get, because we've got the time now. We didn't have an episode of Skinwalker Ranch this week. So we got a break this week from Skinwalker Ranch, but I wanted to get your thoughts rather on episode, what was it, 4, right? Episode 4?
Yeah, what an episode, huh? They brought in the astronomers, everything, fell apart there. The stars were disappearing from the skies, and then they showing a laser up, and the laser was bending and splitting and all sorts of odd phenomena. It was incredibly engaging. I enjoyed the episode. I was frustrated though as well. Like for example, the astronomers when their telescopes are failing, like it's hard for me to accept that they can't go in and then figure out what happened, or go tomorrow and then try it again. Like just throwing your arms up and saying, well, that we had a failure and we can't explain it, we're not even really digging into it. And I'm sure they did dig into it a little, behind the scenes. And stuff,
we talked about that. I mean, it was an astronomy club. Members, I don't have well, actually, I think I do. I have I think it was like the Uintah Basement or the Salt Lake Astronomical Society. So, like, they were there representing their astronomical society. Like, how good does it look if they're a bunch of doofuses with their equipment that have been using it for 10 years? Like, I feel like there's no incentive in being like, well, I guess the ranch is haunted. I'm done here. So like, what about that?
Yeah, I mean, so like I've done live demos before, and when people do that, it is kind of that Murphy's Law. Whatever goes wrong does go wrong. So I'm not, just the fact that they're I'm sure they're experts in what they're doing and they're very aware of their equipment, but setting stuff up in a completely new environment, like it doesn't strike me as that strange that things went wrong. But it does seem to be kind of a pattern in the Skinwalker show where they'll have something really unusual happen, and then they will just kind of be like, that was weird, huh? And that, like, man, if I was there, like, I'm almost sure that, give me a week there with the equipment, I'd be able to at least diagnose what went wrong and be able to tell if it was a real technical problem or, some sort of outside influence or what have you.
Well, if it's a portal, though, I don't think you'd be able to probably figure it out, right? So it's like kind of the question is like, is it so hard to find this out because there's something we don't understand? But I will say, and I wonder if they do this off camera, something that's missing from all the Skinwalker Ranch episodes and pretty much all these science entertainment shows is the controls, right? Like there's no controls, there's no, we did this X amount of times, and that's the only way to do actual science. So that I had a pretty high score. I want to know yours, but I do think it's like, did they just take the telescope to another part of the ranch? Did they try the experiment there and the stars didn't disappear?
Yeah. So I too, the lack of controls is one of my biggest pet peeves as well. I think you totally nailed it there. And that's why, I would give the score a high entertainment rating. I think 8 or 9. I'll give it a 9. It was one of the most entertaining episodes out there. So much crazy stuff happened. I love Travis's response to everything is shoot another rocket at it. I love it. But there is no controls, and it's hard to say that they're doing real science in what they show on TV, at least.
I told Dragon the budget for the rockets must be through the roof.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because there's so many rockets. I feel like this is the year of the rocket for the show. But could it? What if they are? And this is something we're going to review. They released their website, their access portal to right. You know, with that has data, it has live video feeds. I haven't checked it out yet. I just haven't had time. But we are going to do a review on it. We're going to subscribe to it. We're going to do a review on it, use it for about a month, and sort of tell you guys what we feel about it. Could they be doing an experiment that we're just not privy to yet, that does have controls, that is over a long period of time, you know, and then they do this show to be like, well, let's just because we've always wanted to try this, you know, let's bring in the show and see and try different things and see. I just wish when those different things did resonate that they would do them again and then add another sort of rocket. Like I still go back to last season with the spiritual tones and sort of the weird things that started happening. Like why? Like I would love to hear spiritual tones while they're blasting rockets through the air. Like why not? You know, so that way we can set like a pattern for the audience. You know, like that's I think what we want the most, and I think that's why. Thank God we started judging this show on
Steven Greer up on the rocket, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, thank God we started judging this show on two different spectrums, the entertainment spectrum and the science spectrum, because they do a good job of making both coexist. But like for people who are interested in the science aspect of it, there's no real, like you guys said, control systems, base levels, you know, repeating of experiments like that all that stuff is necessary. That's why I was like, I don't understand why they don't tether a balloon over the damn triangle or 3 levels of balloons and just let it record data for the whole year while you're still firing rockets and doing all the things you want to do.
Yeah, totally with you. And yeah, I think that it's kind of obvious that the producers are obviously focused more on the entertainment side of things than showing the scientific method there. You know, that's not to say that they aren't doing real science on the ranch. It's just that, they're not showing us those controls and all of those, you know, diving into stuff and repeating experiments. I hope they do that on the website. It'll be that's a great idea to review the website after a month, because they hopefully will show a little bit more of that kind of science and the nuts and bolts of what they're actually doing on that site.
Yeah.
Or we can make something of it, right? Because if they put enough data on there for us like sleuths to go and look through it, you know, we might find things that they don't have time to find, right? I don't know if they like, we'll see if there's any ongoing live streams, right? So I mean, I could see just watching those.
Yeah.
I see Jazz Shaw in the comments, and I've just been really slacking on the show sort of stuff because I've been busy outside of the show. But Jazz, we are going to discuss this article from the debrief and the video that was released, and then sort of the breakdowns of this video and I guess the aftermath of it.
Well, yeah.
So
I think Jazz is talking about a different video too. Did you see the Miami video?
Yes. We're also going to talk about that one too. I've got that video queued up and ready to go. We're going to break down both of them. But Jazz, if you want to come in here and help us sort of dissect this first video, the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security video, with the Robert Thompson footage, I could send you a link. Just let me know in the chat and I'll do that. Because I'd love to get your view on that.
Yeah, awesome.
But let's talk about it. Because I think this was the biggest thing that happened in the Twitterverse over the weekend. And when it comes to UAP, I mean, like other bigger things that definitely happened outside of this, but like for example, the Miami Heat lost. In the conference.
Sorry for laughing.
Game 7, but damn. That was
a
fun
soccer?
way to go.
What
it was fun. No, that's oh my gosh.
I'm kidding.
Okay, I know you're kidding. As soon as you started smiling, I thought like you were trolling me. We'll get to the trolls too.
I mean, if you put another sports name out there, see, I said sports name. I probably could have been genuinely perplexed. So
oh my goodness. So that's that you're talking about sports, Lou? Cool. Anyway, but so yeah, so let's dissect this, because we had Christopher Plain come on Tuesday morning. It was me and him, and you guys can come because it was early in the morning. You guys were working. I got an almost 2 hour, more than a 2 hour conversation with Chris Plain. And a lot of things where we talked about a lot of things in there. But of course, like, I'm not a video analyst. Chris Plain is not a video analyst. There's also two other people that wrote this article, Tim McMillan and Micah Hanks, were also part of constructing this this story for the debrief. And at first glance, coming from where the source is coming from, and reading the story, how it got to oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name, from NYUAP, Andy. I wanted to say anyway, Andy. It got to how it got to Andy, and then who Andy passed it along to, and who analyzed this video. And there was a lot of people who had analyzed this video, and we publicize it. It becomes public within maybe 12 hours. Dave Beatty, God bless your soul, sir, great work, stabilizes the video and zooms in on it and then sharpens it a bit. And I could not look at that and say, oh yeah, those are birds. Those are birds. It's so clear that they're birds. And what's funny is when you read the article, you got Chris Lato, who analyzed the video as well, said how it had an organic movement. And that explains the movement very, very well. I'm just wondering how nobody zoomed in and stabilized it and looked at it before they put it out like this. And let me also make this very clear before we start talking about this video. There are supposed to be other videos as well, okay, that Robert Thompson stowed away. So for me, this is more data. This is just a way to sharpen the UFO Twitter tool, the scalpel that we use when we dissect these things. I think this is a good thing for everyone. But the way the internet tears these things apart is so goddamn mean, and cuts not only to the bone, but sometimes just through it, just takes off your arm. And I believe that these videos, especially this one, after talking to Andy and kind of getting an idea of who this guy is, I do believe that he's releasing these things with a good intention. They're coming from a good place. They're coming from hey, this is what I was sent. I think it's crazy when I send it to the SCU, when I send it to who's that gimbal mechanic, Dave Fouch. Okay, when I send it to the guys over at the debrief, everybody's in the same conclusion that this is something possibly extraordinary. And so he gets that info back, and then he gets excited, right? And then we release it at this thing, and then it gets released publicly on the internet. Not even takes 24 hours, and it's absolutely, I think, and no offense to anybody who helped release this, but I think the internet analysis of this is right. I think it's birds. I'm going to pull it up. While I do so, whoever wants to jump in and sort of give their opinion about how this happened and then how it got to where it got to. I mean, we could talk about the reactions to it as well, from both sides, from the people who released it versus the people who sort of doubted it and trashed it or questioned it. I mean, I feel like Beatty questioned it in a very respectful way. And then the internet took it and just started tearing people apart. But I'm sorry, rather, not to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that it does kind of seem like they're birds to me. I'm curious to see what you think, Jane. You're kind of the expert on UFO videos around here. Were you?
I haven't seen the stabilized zoomed up. I saw Mick West tweeting about it, so I will live react to the stabilized. I am not surprised. I was not impressed by the video at all. I didn't really see anything of interest in it. because it was just too vague. So I'm that doesn't, and this is not a knock on the debrief. One thing I will say, crowdsourcing is a good thing, and the internet is right. The customer is always right, and the internet is always right. And that's just what I've learned when it comes to UFOs. And you just let these videos and photos and cases hang out long enough, and people figure stuff out. That's why the Skinwalker Ranch portal, I think, will be great. And I think it's okay. Like, I think it's good that it's when you debunk a case, you're removing something from the UFO evidence, and you're removing some confusion from it. And then we can keep, like, cutting away at it until we're left with the truly amazing videos, right, that none of us can debunk. So I don't come out at it from a hater. That's my day to day, debunking things and thinking something's cool and finding out it's not, or the opposite. I think something's not cool, and I'm tempted to debunk it, and I share it, and I learn something new. Oh, actually, that is more mysterious. So, but yeah, we can watch the video, I guess. Is this a stabilized?
Yeah, this is it, stabilized and sharpened, and then people complained that it was sharpened, so Dave Beatty went back and unsharpened it, and so this is the sharpened version. And then if people want, we could also, I'll pull up the unsharpened. I downloaded both, but yeah, this is the and guys, I don't have the links to this in the description yet, but I'll include them after the show, so you can go watch them for yourself. But yeah, this is stabilized, so the video's not shaky, and it's zoomed in by quite a bit. But I mean, you tell me, Jane.
Okay.
I mean,
it looks like birds to me.
Yeah.
It does look like flapping.
A lot. On the coast here in Texas, we go, my mother-in-law has a really awesome beach house, and I do watch the seagulls a lot.
I've seen birds make maneuver like this. That's the thing, right?
That looks like flying birds. Like, unquestionably, that looks like flying
and here's the thing, is it like, I feel bad. I'm not trying to shit on this. Right. Let's just be 100% clear. Like, I think this is a good, but I do feel bad for Andy, because I think this is coming from a good place, but I don't agree with his reaction to the criticism of this video. That's where I disagree with Andy. Like,
thank you. Thank you, everybody. Because I didn't know what this was. I thought it was alien. Now I can let go of this and move on to something else. Right. Case closed. Case solved. I love solving cases. I don't think that should be an embarrassing thing or a shameful thing.
I don't think so either.
I think it should be, good job. We debunked something. It's fine.
Exactly. I mean, like, if you look at the original video, there's 3 dots that are doing strange things. It's understandable that you might think that it's something weird, and there's so many things that disappoint me about this episode. Like, the backlash, right? It is kind of ridiculous, we should be thanking Andy for putting this video out,
for trying, for trying.
And there's no
shame malice involved.
Well, there's no shame for the pilot either. Like, we want pilots to report things, even if it might be birds or it might be other things in the sky, and we should try to make it so that they can report stuff. And if they end up reporting stuff that are birds or other prosaic stuff, great. Thank you for showing something that's unusual. We can put this in our database and learn from it, and judge other incidents about it. It only helps. But my big problem was the hype around it, and the hype wasn't really caused by the debrief. They were trying to keep it, the tempers on it and keep it kind of low key. But Andy did kind of tweet that it was going to transform.
We did have Jazz a little bit bumping up a little bit. He was kind of excited about it, and then I saw Chris playing on other shows, and he was pumped about it. Like, they were both excited. But again, like, everybody's forgetting in this process that none of these people are video analysts. They don't have the capabilities to zoom in and stabilize things and look at it, and then display it for everyone to look at.
You kind of got to do those things before you. I know I said I was not knocking the debrief earlier, but when you go in and make a claim and tease something, those would be some basic things you need to do. And this is my also feedback for the UFO hearing. Similar thing where you had maybe an interesting footage that we don't blame them for being interested in it, but nobody was prepared to have it zoomed in and, in slow motion, for everybody to see. That was another similar example, right?
Yeah, and Andy's complaining because he's like, oh, I showed it to all these experts and they're telling me that it was something really unusual. My big problem where I think that there is some disappointment in me is at the experts who are, looking at it and saying that this is something crazy and unusual. They had a lot of anonymous sources. I'm guessing that probably are people like Lou Elizondo who are looking at this stuff and saying, oh my God, this is alien footage, which really casts a pretty big shadow over other things that those people are telling us are secret evidence that is really wild and out there. So in that respect, I'm disappointed, and it kind of hurts the issue for me. But I feel like these experts shouldn't be so quick to claim what it's not. They're not too quick to claim what it is, but they shouldn't rule out things like birds without being 100% confident. And then you look at Chris Lito's analysis. And he's just, makes an assumption. Oh, if they're a mile away, then it's, something really crazy. And the debrief doesn't question that assumption at all, nor do they talk to any skeptics like Mick West or anyone who might have a, counter viewpoint. I wish they would have had a more, well-rounded reporting on this.
Yeah. Well, although there was a backlash, I could understand in a way why people may have reacted in a harsh way that they did, because you're right, it was hyped like, hey, we're releasing this at this festival and this date at this time, and according to scientists, according to the debrief, according to a whole flock of people that looked at it, this is something anomalous, and according to the source, it's something that could be anomalous, and it wasn't. And the thing that I think was disappointing is like how it got through all of these hands, and nobody simply went. Like, this was my biggest thing when I talked to Andy. I was like, dude, the first person I would take anything like this to would be Mick West. Every single time. And I don't know why researchers and scientists and all these folks within the community, that doesn't cross their brain. Like, hey, maybe I should take this to the one person that I know is going to absolutely tear this apart and be honest with me. It's going to be Mick. And now we know we could send stuff to Dave Beatty as well. Like, so like these guys, I know, especially with Dave, he's been on the show. He works at a news station. Like that's his employment is editing videos like this. This is what he does. And, I don't understand why they don't save themselves this headache.
Yeah, you don't have to believe his analysis, but wouldn't you want a little heads up on what the opposition is going to say?
There are different ways to present, right? So like, so that it's clear that I'm not being hypocritical. Like, I know that there are pictures of birds, on my website that look like UFOs, but I don't present a single case, honestly, on that website as definitively anomalous because I have not found it. If I had found it by now, I'd be hyping it. And maybe I would have just posted it initially and gotten some feedback. I'd be hyping it too, but I haven't found it yet. So I think this is going to be really hard to find, and it's going to be really hard to find that hype worthy like photo or video or case. But there are ways that you could put this out into the world and get the case solved and still add to the data without building it up so much, without I don't know if the disclosure clock's going a little backward now.
That's a great question. I was going to ask that. Like, does the disclosure clock go back a minute or two? That really should have been the poll question, but go ahead, Rather. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely does. It makes me think that the 23-minute video, the things that Elizondo say are, clear-cut evidence of UFOs and aliens, it just casts further doubt on that because, if people are saying that this video was that, and it clearly isn't, you got to show us the goods now.
I'll say
maybe this is anomalous, and hey guys, check this out, right? And you could say it in a much subtler way. And people won't get as mad at you. I mean, from experience, guys, people, I will have posted videos on my YouTube channel of UFOs that didn't end up being UFOs. I will typically pin a comment about it or edit about it, and people they tend not to take it out on me personally because they know I'm just genuinely truth seeking, and I really did, think that this was weird. So I think there's like bedside manners or whatever. There's just a way to go about this that maybe the debrief can learn from, and we all can learn from, right? As we hype things and and
I mean, I think bottom line is that we can't be definitive on what this is. We can't say for sure it's birds. I think that we all kind of think it's birds, but you can't know definitively from any one video, especially if they're just pixels moving through the sky. We need radar, or we need another video. We need something else.
There's 2 watermarks on these videos as well. There's one from the debrief and there's one from NYUAP. And so every time you put a watermark on this video, it degrades the video. So that's not why we're getting the crystal clear images. And so, just one thing to sort of defend maybe putting those 2 minutes back up on the disclosure clock is that I'm just going to go back to the core of this. Personalities and conferences and talking heads aside, this is another video that the community got that was able to decipher incredibly quickly, and it goes to show how good the community is at dissecting these things.
They really are.
For me, I'm sorry, brother. 2 minutes go back on the clock. Like, come on, man. Like, that's valuable. That's valuable. And just real quick because I wanted to get to that comment that we took down, but we get this thing about Mick West not being honest. It's not about being honest. It's about what the data shows. And I'm sorry if you hate Mick West, or if you think he paints us as kooks, which I don't think he does, if you really listen to what he's saying. And again, we've got him to admit on this show that he hasn't debunked the David Fravor, Alex Dietrich UAP, the Tic Tac. He hasn't 100% debunked, but I'm pretty sure he's figured out what's rotating the object or the camera in the gimbal video. I'm pretty sure he's figured that out, but he still hasn't. He doesn't know what it is, So, but the idea that he can break these things down and come back to you with what he thinks is an honest response is valuable, because guess what? Almost every time that he makes a comment on one of these wild videos that's going to change the world, he's usually right. He's usually right. Like that, that's the track record. Like, so if I'm a guy who gets a video from a DHS employee and says, hey, this is my name, these are the things that I've done, and this is the program I started on my free time, which is cool. If his bosses let him do that, I'm good with it. But I would still take that video and pass it to Mick West before I ever released it. I give it to Dave Beatty. I'd also give it to the debrief and the guys that you gave it to as well. Like, I want everyone's opinion. To me, those, though, especially when it comes from Mick and Dave, those are the opinions you should really listen to when it comes down to breaking down video analysis. Because go back and just look at Mick and Dave's work, especially Mick, when it comes to building 3D models to figure out a rotation in a 30-second video. Like, he's doing the math. He's doing the work. So if he's displaying the work and no one can mathematically combat it, I don't know why you think that's dishonest. I don't know why you think that's not helpful. I wonder if
he even shopped this video around to just a friend who doesn't believe in UFOs. Because I think when you're looking at these videos, like with this context and this lens and this excitement, it really blurs it. And there's nothing like just getting a person off the street to react, who's not like kind of brainwashed in a way in this world. So
Yeah, I don't get the Mick West, hate. It is. I mean, really just kind of seems like people are upset that he's challenging their worldviews and their beliefs, and they kind of lash out at that. Which, I encourage Roger to have a little bit of an open mind and listen to what Mick West says, because he's not a jerk. Mick West is very polite, very.
He does have, and this is self-admitted. He does have resting Mick face, which we've coined on this show. He does come off as dry sometimes, and sometimes that appears as condescending. It really, and he's done it to me, and I've called him out for it on my show. The very first time I interviewed him, I thought he was making fun of me live, and I'm like, "Are you making fun of me? Like, this is a serious question." So I get that. He has done that, but if you really have paid attention to his work in the last, especially I'd say 8 months, he's really put a lot more respect on the possibility of this, especially after talking to Alex Dietrich. Like, Alex Dietrich, go back again and watch that interview. It's one of the best interviews I've seen on how to handle Mick West, especially when it's coming from the pilot that was there. And I think that's what casts his doubt. That's why he can't definitively 100% say, this is solved. He's never done that. And so I don't know. But what's up, Jane?
Well, what were you going to say?
No. That was it.
Well, it's just, I don't know. Like, for somebody like me who tends, like, my head can go up into the clouds really easily, and I am so grateful for people like Mick West. Like, it scares me to think of walking through a world without people like Mick West in it. And I'm wondering, like, for the haters, do you really want to continue to believe that a video showing birds is alien? Like, really? Like, aren't you grateful that you're not wasting your time with that anymore? And I mean, I think that, I don't know why we shouldn't all be grateful for time given back to us, why we shouldn't be all grateful to learn the truth. Like, I think if you want the truth, I don't see how you can hate that man.
Yeah. Well, what's great about this also,
who else is doing this? Like, it's surprising how few people, honestly, out there are doing that level of analysis.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, rather.
Well, if you look at the hate that Mick West gets, it's maybe not so surprising, right? Like, he doesn't get a lot of love from the community for doing what I think is a valuable service, just like you're saying.
I think a lot more in the community are like him than it shows. I really do. And
vocal minority.
I've changed my thought process about Mick West, especially through meeting you and talking to Mick, through just slowing down and listening to the perspective and the rationality of what he's saying, instead of getting emotional and putting my belief system into it, which I come to the table with, whether I like it or not, just because, again, I've had an experience, I've had an up close and personal thing happen. So it's difficult for me to leave that personal experience off the table. It really, really is. But we try. And when we do, it's rational. It makes sense. Like, he's not doing it to troll us. Sometimes he does.
I think he's definitely, knows, like, his role and enjoys it. And I don't see what's really wrong with that, though, right? Like, pick your lane and enjoy riding along in it.
And also, you got to respect him for at least interacting with us.
Oh, he is so engaging.
Heavily. He's not like a Neil deGrasse Tyson where he's just like, make a statement and not answer to it at all.
He can laugh.
He just walks away.
Glurp the alien showed him a spaceship model, and a model of his spaceship when we were doing an interview with him. And it was a seagull. And
I want to address this real quick, because people keep, there's like a small, again, like, we always get into, like, when we say people on the internet and on Twitter, it's like 20 or 30 people that really are just sort of, they want, everything is a scam. Everybody's lying. Everybody's evil, except for this person, and this person. It's ridiculous. But this idea that Chris Lato is running a scam is absurd. I think the reason why is because you haven't done your research on him. He has no clue when he walks into a UFO conference everybody's history who's been there. So for example, like Jaime Maussan, who is got a pretty bad reputation for spreading fake stuff. He did it at the UFO Congress a few years back, and everybody was pissed when he did it, because the stuff he presents sets us back a lot of the times more than moves the discussion forward. And so because people see, oh, Jaime Maussan is there and Chris Lato's there, it's got to be a scam, period, end of story. Like, Chris Lato doesn't come into this community knowing what everybody's done and what everybody's known for. He's looking at this as, damn, I came at this from a very cool perspective, being a retired F-16 fighter pilot. He's helped break down a lot of cool videos. I think some of them, they're wrong. He's not going to be right on all of them, but he comes to this discussion from a very honest place. I feel that to my core. Like, he's not trying to rip anybody off. He's doing NFTs through MetaMasks and very open and transparent systems. Like, these things are transparent. And I think it's on you to understand, you know, some people are going to buy into this stuff and some people aren't. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens, because nobody has the answer yet. And if you have the disposable income to do it, then you do it. If you don't, you don't. It's as simple as that. But to just automatically label it scam, liar, you know, like, you know, this person's, you know, motives and intentions. Like, he's never ripped anybody off in the what year he's been in the community. Like, he's so new to this. Like, I think it's just stupid and irresponsible when you say stuff like this, Steve.
Well, I think it's hard. You know, Chris is definitely a believer in what he's doing, you know, the NFTs. Yes. I don't think he's trying to scam anyone or trying to, you know, do anything nefarious. But that being said, that doesn't mean that what he's doing is going to succeed, right?
Correct.
Like, he could very well be wrong about how this is. In fact, I kind of think he probably is wrong about how this is all going to work. But it's an interesting idea.
It's with every investment that you make across the planet, no matter what you're investing in. When you invest in something, you're taking a risk that it's going to pay you off. That's the risk. And if it fails, you understand that risk and you're ready to take that risk on. That's why you sign a contract. That's why all of these things are done when you do financial stuff like this. So if you think it's a scam, or if you think it's just not going to work, like, I think Rather doesn't believe in NFTs or the cryptocurrency world. And I know a lot of people who think that. I'm still on the fence. So I'm like, well, if I could get, you know, some NFTs and help try and do this in this medium before anybody really knows what it is, and we could get on the inside and help fund scientific research with an NFT, why not try it? Why, especially if it's open and transparent, why not give it a shot? Like, it's almost like you're sticking spaghetti, you're throwing spaghetti against the wall and you see, hopefully it sticks. It means the pasta is ready, you know? But like, I mean, I understand. You know, this is not like Linda Moulton Howe or Jaime Maussan is doing NFTs. Like, this is a retired F-16 fighter pilot, lives in Portugal and surfs. Like, you know, it breaks down UFO videos. It does a pretty damn good job at most of them, you know, and adds the perspective. But, you know, like, damn, dude, he's not going to be right every time. Neither's Mick. Neither's anybody, you know. But I'm sorry, Rather, go ahead. That's just my little rant on, like, why are we calling Chris Lato a scam artist? Like, it's to me, it's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and if you're buying one of these NFTs, you know, it is hard to understand exactly what's going on in the whole NFT world. You know, I think, you know, my understanding of it is you buy your NFT, you pay your $3,000, and that money kind of goes into a pool, and they're going to be buying a bunch of these Sky 360 devices to go, you know, track the sky and do some science, which is a cool endeavor, right? Right. But you know, I think that is kind of how you have to view it, is that you're kind of you're donating into this
correct
science operation, and you get a little bit of voting rights with that. You know, the investment, I am skeptical that the whole funding of it is really going to work with, you know, selling NFTs and building value. I wish they had kind of a more robust system of how they're going to fund their efforts, and kind of a more finalized DAO, a distributed, I forget what the actual acronym stands for, but a distributed organization that has rules and has, defined rules that define how you're going to interact with it and how things are going to work. I don't think that is quite built yet in Chris Lato's.
Well, they do have an NFT with sort of the community guidelines and what's going to be done and who gets a vote and what happens if it ever comes to that point. Like,
ideally, all that would be codified in actual,
for sure.
In a DAO.
But I mean, to be fair, cryptocurrency is something new. And we don't know. Like, they don't know if it's going to be successful. Just like you said, I think they're going into it saying, I hope this works. I'm trying something. I truly, just like you said at the top of this, I truly believe that Chris Lato believes in this. And because he believes in this, I consider him to be a smart guy. I've been offered a way to sort of help and promote it. And I like Chris Lato. I think he's coming from a good place. And so that's why I've offered my help to help him promote it and help him launch the NFTs. And I get to be a part of this little congregation of people who get the vote and if this does take off as a legitimate currency. But we have to wait and see, man. We have to wait and see. Sorry, Jane, what were you gonna say?
Well, I'm wondering if a lot of the Chris Lato haters are just NFT haters, and they just think NFTs are a scam, because that's probably, I'm guessing that's what's going on.
Part of it.
I'm just raising money to do research. I don't know if anybody would care, but I'm wondering, just on the NFT front, if this is an early adopter wave, and maybe it won't be successful, but if it's not, I feel like there's going to be another wave. Maybe as the general public start to understand this more, we will see this be a thing. And I'm wondering if for UFO NFTs, I'm envisioning NFTs associated with specific cases and evidence and experiences, and then their value increasing or decreasing based on if they stay UFOs or not, as we collect more data. So the Tic Tac UFO NFT or something like that. I don't know how that works. You NFT smart geeks, figure it out. But
I think
go in or.
And I think that's why, people. I think, you're totally right. They're down on NFTs, so they think it's a scam. Right. But the NFTs are, so you can have a piece of art or UFO evidence and say, this is an NFT. I own this NFT, which is kind of cool. But maybe
I have a UFO NFT and nobody else can get it. All the unique evidence that's approved by official chain or whatever, and nobody else can have this but me.
Can I ask the group a question here real quick? Does anybody here have a MetaMask open or sorry, because I'm still learning this. But do any of you guys have an OpenSea or NFT sort of account?
No.
Okay, so when I started looking into this, and I'm very new to this as well, and this is all very confusing. I'm trying to learn on the fly, literally. I started looking through the available NFTs and what they're worth. And the worth comes through an Ethereum. Okay. I can't explain it, but I got to a section where the NFTs were pixel art of sneakers. Okay. Mm-hmm. Some of these were worth 30 grand. Okay. And then they had a certain number of that version that could be bought out. So you could buy all of them or you could buy whatever. I don't know why, but something in me went, man, I wish I had 30 grand to buy this. I was like, I don't know why I want this, but I do. It's something I can't explain what that urge was.
The metaverse is this, an extension of that, right? Of owning digital real estate. I don't know if it's kids play Fortnite now, or for me, it would be Sims and downloading every pattern of sofa and wallpaper and everything so I can build the most perfect house that's not real. Right. And it's very satisfying. And I would pay, not anymore, but I would pay for Sims downloads back in the day. A fake furniture.
I'm pretty sure Steve Long's one of these guys that really hates our show, right?
He's a skeptic. I think he's a skeptic.
I don't know. Dude, view, right?
Here's the thing, Steve. If you're right, I'm not making a penny. I don't know what you're so upset about, dude. Like, nobody makes anything. Nobody's running off to the Tahitian Islands and running away with their billions of dollars, millions, hundreds of thousands. Like, dude.
So it's like the NFT art, like I can see why people would think that that's a scam, because that's a tried and true scam in the NFT world. Is, you'll put up some sneakers for $30,000, you'll have your friend buy it, give you back the money, and then in hopes that it looks like people are buying it, and then someone else will buy it from your friend, and then no one else will buy it from your friend because it was all kind of a scam. So that could happen. But these NFT tickets, or what Chris is doing, is more than just a piece of art. It's essentially like a stock, a governance token, so you can kind of be participating in this organization that is amassing a pool of money and deciding where to spend that money. So in that sense, decentralized science, I think that there is something to that. I'm not sure that it's totally flushed out and is going to work, but it is a...
Well, we're not going to... I'll tell you this. We're not going to figure it out here. That's for sure. Here's the point. The point is if this is something that interests you, and if this is something that interests you, if it's something that you think you want to invest in and you've got the disposable income, do it. If this is something that you have questions about and you're on the fence about whether or not you want to do it, I say do your damn research and figure it out for yourself before you put any of your money into anything.
Yeah,
and that's the warning I'm giving everybody.
I'd say it's not really even an investment, really. It's like, paying, pooling your money with some other people and deciding how you're going to spend the money is essentially how I think you should look at it.
Correct. And that money could fluctuate in value, could also decrease in value, so that's also something. It's a risk. So know that before you do it. But I think it's coming from an honest and genuine place. And if it's something that interests you, go for it. If it's something that doesn't, then don't. And move on, but to point this guy out and call him some sort of scam artist, I think that's where I draw the line, because I don't think that's true. Anyway, if we can, did we have any sort of other thoughts about this weekend and this video that came out of DHS? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to get back to the video and get back to kind of before the video. What I think was maybe one of the biggest shames of the video is that, as Brent Honig is talking about, it really overshadowed the debrief article, which I thought was a really interesting article. The article didn't really talk about the video much at all, except for Chris Lato's analysis. There was no interviewing the author or the pilots, really no other information about the video. But there was a lot of information about the guy who got the video from the DHS and how he's kind of starting his own little ATIP program within the DHS and collecting evidence. And apparently it's common for, these DHS pilots to have weird stuff pop up, and now they're starting to accumulate them. And I think that, even if, the videos are mostly like the ones that we saw, there might be ones that are truly anomalous. And I think it's, big news and good news that might move the disclosure clock a little bit forward, that our other government agencies are taking this stuff seriously now. Hopefully they start, collaborating with the UAP task force or AOI MSG, and more data, the better. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, I'm just reading one of these comments. And it's just do I want to address this or don't I? I don't know. I'll save it just in case I do. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the article was, that's what we really talked about when Chris Plain was on, was the article, and the background of Robert Thompson, and sort of how he started this program and why he started the program. And I do believe, look, if he's got 5 videos, let's say, I think if one of them is something that can't be destroyed by Dave Beatty or Mick West, huge win. And if I had to take a guess, and I'm hoping that this reaction to this video doesn't discourage him from releasing more stuff, or these guys releasing more things, but I think if you're going to do it in the future, just put it out there. Run it by some people before you do would be my suggestion. We've already listed those people, and then let the open source begin. Let the murder board begin, essentially. And I think that's a healthy process. And if we keep putting videos in front of the murder board, we're going to get to 1 or 2 where the murder board goes, this this one's weird. And
yeah,
boom, now we're on to something.
And it's probably not going to, a video like that, any video, I don't think is going to be, the definitive proof. But I think even videos like the ones that we're currently seeing will perhaps give us insights on how to capture better data and, know definitively when stuff like this happens in the future. How can we definitively tell those are birds? What other sources of data are there that could triangulate or shed some more light on it?
Or, for those people who are working on AI software that breaks down video like this could be a perfect thing to pump into the software and either rule out or put in as something anomalous, so, I think this could be used to sort of dial in projects like that. So again, a lot of uses for this video that everybody's just writing off and saying, oh, just bird, bruh, just birds. I'm angry, birds, and they get upset and they call people fakes and liars and scam artists. And they put all of these words attached to these people, who they've never met, they've never spoken to, they've never, maybe they've interacted with on Twitter, but does Twitter count as real human interaction? I can tell you the last 2 years doing this show, I will tell you no. Twitter does not count as real human interaction. This, I consider a platform like this as close to human interaction as you can get, because here, I'm not going to call you a scam artist or a liar because humans don't usually do that face to face. But, I don't know, man. It's just, I hope it doesn't discourage pilots. I hope it doesn't discourage anybody from coming out because the murder board is so rough. But I think if you just put the info out and, I don't want to say don't hype it, but because I truly believe that, hey, look, if I was in the business of releasing videos like this, I would want to say, hey guys, tune in. January 23rd at 7 p.m. I got a new video dropping. We're going to discuss it. We're going to analyze it. I've run it by so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. They all agree it's pretty cool. Let's see what you guys think, and then boom, put it out and let us do our thing, and don't take it personally when people are like, yeah, I don't think this is good. And for the people who get nasty with it, just ignore them. Like, they're not in this to have a civilized, rational conversation. They just want to be angry. They don't want their belief systems questioned. So I would say, if that's what you're running into, and I'm sure everyone here can sympathize with this, where, you 90% of the people are patting you on the back going, hey, I love your stuff. I love your work. It's that 10% where you're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, why are you being such a crazy asshole right now? And that's the part that we focus on, because we're trying to please everybody. We don't like when people don't like us. We want to have a rational conversation, but if you're going to be irrational, go kick rocks, man. Hit the road. But Jane, what do you think of this video? Any final thoughts?
Is and I think this is just something we can all do and practice ourselves, is just doing your bias check. I think watching that video without any audio, I wonder if there would be any reaction to it. And I get that testimony and naked eye testimony is important, and that's part of the story. But I think we also need to remember that even trained eyewitnesses and pilots, they can't. There can be tricks that are played on their eyes, however you want to put it. And that doesn't mean that they're stupid or that they don't know what they're doing, or that,
Well, I don't want to cut you off here, but something that's very important is that this was a training mission. So there was a pilot who was experienced, and then there was a co-pilot who was just learning how to do missions. And so that's the guy who was confused as to what he's looking at, while the other guy's like, yeah, I'm not looking at that, because I've probably seen it a billion times.
And we don't even know who submitted this video to Thompson, or, if they were actually looking at those 3 dots when they were saying, are those fast moving jets? That he could have been looking at something entirely different. We really don't know much context about that.
I'm pretty confident that that's what he was looking at, only because there's 3 objects, it looks like, on the system. Again, we can't rule any of this out, right? But it seems like that's what they were looking at. That's what the one pilot was referring to. I'm just going to assume, yeah, that's what it is. And I think that also it perfectly explains why the experienced pilot was like, not looking at it, like, because I've seen it. That's nothing, kid. You know, I wish that's what he had said. Like, yeah, you know, it's just birds. Yeah, you're gonna pick up a lot of things on your heads up display, your HUD in these different, you know, spectrums of light. He's learning how to use his helmet. He's learning how to fly the helicopter and outside of a simulator. So, like, it all makes sense. It all makes sense now. Like but you know, again, like Rather said, the article is about Robert Thompson. The article is about him and his experience and what he did within this department. Like, and I'm curious to know, like, the work that he did on his own time, is that stuff that's still FOIA-able? Because he's accessing government taxpayer things, even though it's his free time, those things should be FOIA-able, no?
Yeah, I would think so. I think it's just, you know, his off time while still working at DHS, right?
You know, it would be great. And I'm not saying we're owed this, but I'd love for somebody, I'm sure you guys would too as well, love to talk to Robert Thompson.
Sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, I think, you know, like, and this was one of the things before this article came out, was they weren't going to release his name with this article. And within the last, I think, 48 hours before it published, Tim McMillan got the okay. They talked him into it. He was comfortable with sharing his name, and then his name was put in the article. So I think that's what makes this also. That's why I would say, hey, just check yourself before you wreck yourself, before you start yelling birds, before you start yelling this. First of all, there's more data that has not been released yet, that we have not seen. And also, there's a name with the claims. And there's information that I think that could be pulled out from this. There's so many positives to this coming out. And I think everybody's just so laser focused on that they figured out that it's birds, even though nobody can definitively say 1 billion% that it is birds, even though we're 99.99999% sure. You know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But hell, man, it's more data. Like, there's so many little nuggets that I think that I'm glad I put the 2 minutes back on the clock, you know, like, because there are a lot of positives that come out of this, what the community, and I say the community, again, it's probably 10% thinks is bad information or whatever, scammy.
Yeah, you can keep the 2 minutes back on the clock. I mean, it's only like 2 minutes. I guess to me, though, disclosure is more about, like, there's disclosure for myself, myself, and I'm only going to learn more things about this phenomenon. Like, nobody can stop me. I've learned a ton so far. I'm going to keep learning every day. So I have no doubt, like, yes, it's a win for me personally, maybe us, right? But to me, disclosure is really, I was talking about this in an interview, Lone Star Plate, shout out, the other day. And it's Texas food magazine, interested in UFOs. But I was talking about how disclosure is really like, right, us all agreeing, right, that aliens are visiting, right, or whatever you want to call it, blank. It's actually not necessarily correlated with an actual truth or a factual statement. It's just all of us, like, tipping point, a certain, what's that, mass, a certain amount of people, right, that just agree that it's happening. So I don't think we're getting closer, I guess, to that statement, you know, getting to that statement. I feel like we're getting a little bit far backwards. But yeah, I mean, as far as me personally as a UFO researcher, yeah, I like I said, I like solving cases. You learn more actually from this case than we do. Critical mass, yes.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Yeah, critical mass. Yes. So, I think we learn more whenever we can solve a case. We actually learn more from that from when we were like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused. I don't know why the telescope's not working at Skinwalker Ranch. That's fun. That's exciting. That leads us to something new. But we actually learned, I think, a lot in this. We learned that just pilots in training can maybe think that birds are jets from far away if they're, maybe have certain, I don't know what was in front of him, at the time. I guess he was in the helicopter. So that's something we learned, that birds can look crazy.
Here's something too that I also want to point out that's a positive of this, and I think Logan Black's not gonna like this. So he says there's other videos that look just like those three orbs, objects circling each other and flying around weird, that have been filmed in broad daylight that match perfectly with those quote birds. Here's my point: is whatever that was filmed on was not as good as a Department of Homeland Security thermal camera system, even degraded twice and put up on the internet. And if anything, this example can now be applied to all of those other orbs and things that we see in the sky that move in this similar pattern, and possibly now have an explanation for some of these orbs, because the camera systems don't match. They're not going to be as sharp. They're going to look as orbs if they're just as far away as that helicopter was from those objects, except the difference is we got a little, even though it's still pixely, that video is still better than anything on an iPhone or anything in a handheld camera range, other than, like a Canon SLR with a huge lens on it. So I think if anything, it helps explain a lot of those orb videos that match this movement. So
and that's always been the question. That's always the question when you have those white orbs that dance and move around. Right. That's always, could it be birds? Because you just don't get the detail when they're that high up. And so, that's been a known kind of thing, in ufology for a while, right? We've been knocking ufology a lot lately. I think old school ufology's been looking pretty sharp lately, frankly. Sounds like we've kind of been there and done that, and some new folks are having to learn some old lessons.
This is why I love Jeremy McGowan, dude. It's just no filter. Thermal cameras suck. The United States Air Force even has regulations against using them for target identification on ground-based weapon systems. That may be true, but I think, Jeremy, you can extend to me that a thermal camera system on a billion or multi-million-dollar jet is better than an iPhone 7.
Can you use an iPhone 13 for target identification? I don't know.
Yeah, right. You got to give me that, right? Like, I think you might be. You're probably right. I would trust Jeremy when he says exactly what he just said to be true, because he's been in those situations. He knows that part of the world. But I think you have to give me, man. Please give me that camera system is better than a handheld iPhone or Galaxy. Anyway. So I think, again, more positives that come out of this that people are kind of flying past than there are negatives to me. I think the only negative is that it's not a UFO. It's not alien tech. It's not non-human. That's the only negative that really is coming out of this. And there's other sprinkles on top of the cake, with, oh, you guys did it at a conference, and Jaime Maussan was there, and this guy was there, and they were doing this, and so it must all wrap up together, and everything's a scam. So I hate this.
Yeah, I'll say I think the negatives were, the hype around it, and then the experts that are brief talk to all being very uncritical in their analysis, and I think that does hurt things, and I think that is a negative when.
See, I don't think that's negative. Like that. I think that just goes to show that their analysis always needs to be questioned. Now we know with definitiveness that these guys are not optical engineers. They don't know camera systems, with the exception of maybe Dave Fauch. They don't break down. That's not what they do. They don't do any of those things. They're scientists.
How can you look at that and say that it's definitively not birds, though? Like, it seems like they're missing the experts that we kind of are relying on.
Yeah,
we shouldn't be relying on.
That should have at least been in the article like that's where so let's say they're not, maybe it's not birds, maybe we're just like crazy and the UFOs do weird flappy motions when you zoom in. I mean that sincerely, we don't know what the alien crafts are like, but it seems like even just a cursory zoom in would have given you that as one possible theory that you would have included in the article, and then you would have said why you didn't think it was birds, because there was some other data point in the thermal analysis, right? And that wasn't even in there, right? So
I agree.
Right?
Like how it went through that many hands and nobody said, hey, let me stabilize and zoom in just to make sure, is crazy to me. And I don't know, I'm curious to know when that dropped on Twitter, what those guys were thinking behind the scenes of their analysis then. Like I would have many
times, guys.
I would have loved
many times. Okay.
I mean, but it's like kind of look to me, it's a slap on the wrist, but it's a slap on the wrist you deserve. Like next time, you need to look at a stabilized, zoomed in version of before you make like a claim, like Rather said, like it's definitely not birds. Like you're ruling things out that it's definitely not. And Jane is also right. Like this could be how these anomaly move, where it appears as flapping when you zoom in. Like maybe it is that, you can't definitively rule that out. But if you compare it to things that we know that are terrestrial, that are on the planet, that fit the description and the visualization of what we're looking at, like it would have been nice if out of the weekend, instead of visceral coming out of the side of the people who helped release this, it was more of a tone of, hey, like, okay, we missed this one. Like, you guys are right. That's a great analysis. Like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, I felt the pit in my stomach because I was like, damn, we just talked about this. Like, and we talked to the one of the authors of the article. Like, you trust these folks to hopefully have done these things, and somehow it didn't happen. And it's like, okay, now we know next time, like we can't get excited, right? Like we learn lessons all the time. Can't get excited. Let's ask the questions, and let's take it one step at a time. And maybe next time we get a video from the same source. Okay, has it been zoomed in on and stabilized? Have we done that yet before we all put our names attached to it? We'll see. I think it's worst case, it's a lesson learned for the guys who did attach their expertise to it.
I'm sure it is.
I hope so. And again, like has this happened with these guys a lot? I'm asking as a serious question. Like, is this something that these group of people are known for getting wrong all the time? I mean, the debrief has gotten a couple articles wrong now at this point. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk, but the war bubble thing was wrong. Like we talked about this video and it turns out like most people think it's a bird.
If it's more of, because I think we agree that if you were to just comb through New York Times or CNN or really any outlet, you'd find a lot of problems, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's more having to do with just the headline writing or just the presentation of some of these ideas. If they could just be maybe walk that back a little bit, just maybe subtleize it a little bit.
Well, here's the thing too,
from them anyways, we don't want third phase of the moon. We don't need that. Maybe we just need to communicate that to the debrief and all the UFO researchers out there. It's okay. I'm over the clickbait. I want the real science now. Skinwalker Ranch. It's okay. You can be a little more boring with your headlines. I think if us as a audience and community still click those articles and engage, that can help with the journalism around this.
What also just sharpens us up as a community as well. It's like, oh damn, this sounds exciting. But like I did with the weekend, even after having the conversation in real time, the conversation with Chris, it was like, hey, we have to wait and see what the internet does with this video, because they're going to dissect this and they're going to come back with something. And you may not like it. That's all I'm going to say is you might not like it. And it turns out they didn't. And, you know, again, that kind of just falls on them a little bit. Like, you have to eat that crow a little bit. And I think it's more helpful. And we've said a million times, like, I'm okay with you being wrong on this topic. Like, I'm okay with that. You have to be, no matter what the source is, like, because most of the time the source is the government, and it's like, and it's just filtering itself through a different reporter or a different news entity or different whatever. Like, I think the beautiful thing is now, as much as UFO Twitter sucks, there is really great uses, and it's sort of like, you ever seen like these machinery lines that like are scanning bad potatoes at like 40 at a time, and it kicks out the bad potato, and it's a machine? Like, UFO Twitter is exactly that. Like, we just filter all of this UFO stuff, and then it scans it, and then it kicks out the ones that just don't hold up. Well, unfortunately, most of them, I feel like, don't hold up. But occasionally one potato makes it through as a golden potato, you know? Like, so I feel like that's where its use is more than anything, is that it does add clarity, and it does give us not definitive answers, but a pretty damn good idea of what we're dealing with. And dude, that's like the beautiful thing about this is, like, I don't think you're going to see this video on feeds all over the place with scary music and, you know, no description in like a TikTok feed without somebody in the comments going, yeah, that's bullshit. Like, it's birds.
Yeah, you always go to the comments. Yeah, you always go to the comments.
You know, and so that's what's great about this. You know, like, it's not. Hopefully, it won't be used, and I don't think it will be, because it's been. Like, nobody thinks it's extraordinary. You know, like, sorry.
And I mean, I agree with you, Lou, that, you know, we should allow people to make mistakes, but you kind of have to, I wish people would admit to their mistakes more, right? You know, and why Andy is, you know, really doubling down on him thinking that this is, you know, all the skeptics are wrong. You know, I doubt that the debrief is going to publish another article or a correction about it, you know, which I would love it if they did.
Absolutely address it. Now, they can still say that it's UFOs, but they should address it, because that, I mean, that's specific, like, I mean, that is a totally fair motion of the UFOs you're seeing up close to bring up. Now, there might be a retort to that. Maybe, I don't know, but I think that should be addressed. Like,
I again, we're not owed anything, but I agree with you guys. I agree with you guys. Yes, I agree.
If I would put myself in their shoes, I would. I mean.
And you know, look, we've got friends at the debrief. We're not trying to throw them under the bus in any way. Like this, but I think you're right. Like, I think just making a simple, hey, like, we stick by the sources, we stick by the portfolio that we believe is in existence, we stick by this, we stick by this. But I think we've come to the conclusion, like everybody else, that this is probably not as anomalous as we had first thought. And, you know, hey, well, let's see what happens on the next batch of videos or the next whatever. I think that helps. It helps. It doesn't hurt.
Why not talk to any one of those experts you talked to the first round, call to attention what the stabilized and Zoom view, and just ask for their comment on it. Just ask for their feedback on it. Like, it's really simple. Like, I don't think journalism is like, oh, it's just done when I did my story and it's done, especially UFOs. Every single article I have on the site is kind of open to be revisited, frankly, almost, you know, one way or the other, right? Like, I'm still going through old, the triangles are still, that I've been documenting for years, still drive me crazy, because it's like, is that really just a drone, you know, or are those just two separate lights in a triangular formation? I still look at old videos that I thought were pretty definitive at the time and wonder about them. So
well, I'll end on this, and then we'll get on to the next thing, because we've got about a half hour left. Michael Huntington says, clickbait hype turns people off. I understand what you're saying, but everything is clickbait hype in this economy. Everything.
You're not going to get noticed if you don't do, like, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with writing a catchy headline or even hyping stuff, but you have to follow through. You have to deliver on the goods. That's the.
I mean, there is. I mean, I feel like there should be, though, a moral responsibility on whoever's either editing or publishing that story. That if you're going to make an amazing headline, because usually people click and share without even reading it, they're just going off the headline. You know, I wish there was a way to regulate the headlines so that it matches what's actually going on in the story, because a lot of times it doesn't. And, you know, I think there's, you know, two people fault. Obviously, the author, you know, like I understand why the author does it, because that's the environment they're in. You know, it's almost like, why did a baseball player take steroids? Because if he didn't, he wouldn't have played professional baseball, because Barry Bonds and, you know, Sammy Sosa were doing it. Like everyone was doing it. So like, I can understand like trying to make a path in a very oversaturated profession. But yeah, I mean, you know, what's the line? Like, I think that whatever the headline is, the article should match it. But the fault also falls a little bit on the person sharing it, the person clicking it, the person not reading it before they share it. You know, like, so like
most kids aren't reading stuff. I'll just tell you, I get like y'all post articles, and I appreciate the responses and the opinions. It would be like, oh, but what about this? But what about this? I was like, well, did you click the article?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, but hyping up
the tweet, you know, and responded, right? And, you know, made an opinion or a reaction. I see that all the time.
I mean, like, I'm just an actor. I'm a guy who's promoted shows for comedians, for myself, for movies, for films. And like, hype is part of this conversation. Whether you want to admit it or not, like, it's part of the conversation. If the White House announced in an hour that if they were, let's say they were going to make this announcement, they would put out a press release saying White House has major announcement on alien life at 3:00. You know, they would give themselves a couple of hours to set up and also let everybody know what's happening. You know, and unfortunately, not everybody has the social pull of the White House. Like, some people don't have that. So they do it in other creative, different ways. And sometimes if they fall flat on their face with it. And I think that's what happened here a little bit. But again, I'll just give the benefit of the doubt, because I think the heart's in the right place. But you know, the reaction to it, I think, could be a little more refined.
Yeah, and I agree with you both. I gotta say, at some level, I do kind of enjoy the roller coaster, though. It is a little bit of fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like watching like the internet figure this out, and then everybody come to the realization.
Well, and being hyped up for it, the excitement. Shit, you know, I was excited. You know, it's fun to be excited.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple. I mean, dude, we're running out of time, but like, everybody missed what Carl the Crusher put out.
Yeah,
like,
no,
did you watch it?
I did, yeah, and I thought that truly blows my mind. I posted that in our Discord. Sparky Lady was saying that maybe it's Earth lights. I need to investigate those, because I'm very unfamiliar with that.
Okay, and to me, went just over everyone's head. And what's funny is, okay, before we get into it, we have to get into that. But real quickly, I did pull the video of this this Miami Airshow object that was filmed by actually a pretty famous person. I know they had like a blue check mark on their name. I'm trying to remember their name.
Like Sugarman or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was a former sports agent. Something Sugarman. You're right, brother. It's something. If you can look it up, just so we can give them credit. I forgot to write this down in pre-show. Sorry, guys. But yeah, this is a video that was like everybody was freaking out about. It was like, forget about the birds. Check this other bird out. Like, this is I think another bird. But I'm curious to know what you guys think here. And this is, by the way, this is in slow motion. It's zoomed in. This is not the original video, but I also have that if we want to see that. So there it is. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it does look like a bird, but and the full speed is going very fast.
It is.
So I think it's probably maybe a bug if it's not a bird.
Yep.
It is. It is. I think this is better footage than the other one.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of agree a little bit on that. Here's the thing, right? Again, like I'm living in this part of the world. I've seen a few things here. Here's the full version of the video with sound, and just bear with me because I know this is loud. Oh no, this is not. This is actually in slow mo. I thought I downloaded it in. Hold on one second, guys. In a full with sound. Just give me 2 seconds.
By the way,
yeah,
UFOs show up at air shows. I mean, people are, what it is they're looking at the sky and they've got their camera up. But I will say, over the years, some of the better UFO sightings have been at air shows, even the Miami air show in the past. So
okay, this wasn't in slow motion. It would just the second half of it is. So yeah, this happens pretty quick. I'm sorry, I can't make this any bigger for you guys. Actually, well, I can make it a little bigger. Let me do this. And you guys can still hear us. So I'll play this, and then you guys let me know. Oh darn it! We do slow it down. Sorry, you guys. I thought this was the full version, but it's not. I mean, even then, it's still really hard to see. Like, I don't know if you guys see the black dot there. That's why I brought this one on instead, because this one, I mean, it's in slow motion, but you could actually see what we're looking at here. Here's two things, right? Living in this part of the world. If you guys have ever been to the beach in South Florida, obviously, I mean, there's seagulls everywhere, right? But like some people don't pay attention. So I think what this is a seagull diving in for bait fish off camera, and then smacks the water and comes straight up toward camera. And it's probably somewhere in between these three people in front and the five people in the deeper water. I think it's in between those two people, and I think that's why nobody saw this thing. Nobody paid attention or pointed at it or looked at it or reacted to it, because I think this is just something that happens every 20 seconds at a South Florida beach. You've got a seagull that dives for bait fish. And they definitely do that in this part of the world. I've seen them do it a billion times. Like, this video does not definitively show the object. It comes off of screen. It does not come out of the water. Like right there, it comes off screen and it's leaving the water. If this thing's coming out of the water, I'm thinking splash. Like and I think people would see that. But I don't know. That's kind of my opinion on what this is. I think it's a seagull. I think you can see the flapping of the wings. And I think that's why he didn't see it when he filmed it live. He explained that when he was going back and looking at the footage, he noticed this thing. So I think that's why he picked it up, in reviewing it, because I think in real time, it was just a seagull and he doesn't remember it coming into frame like that because his focus was on the jet that was passing by him, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't know what you guys think. We didn't even play our UFO video of the day imaging, which we probably should have done.
By the way, the reason I saw this is because Jeremy Corbell replied about this and was like, "Oh, this is interesting." He didn't say, "Oh, this is alien." We look into it. So I think that when somebody like Jeremy goes and replies on a Twitter thread to footage like this, it gives it a lot of weight, right? That wasn't there before. So it's kind of going to the conversation earlier, like with debrief and sources. And so I think that's interesting. I'm thinking bird too, based on like how it looks in slow motion. I would like us to all watch it together going fast, because it does go like really fast, which is interesting. The other idea I had was literally just somebody throwing something from off camera. Like, just I don't know how we could disprove that at all, because we don't see where it's coming from, and that's what any kind of object means.
No, unless it's like right in his face, which I think he would have noticed that, even if he's, concentration was on the jet. And the thing is if you're throwing something in the air like that, there was no deceleration to it at all. Like that thing. And it wasn't a straight line. There's a curvature to it.
Camera?
Well, there's a curvature also to it as well. you know? So like if it's like a rock or a baseball or a football or some kind of thing that you throw on the beach, I don't know. I just I don't see it as that.
Yeah. Well, bird was the first reaction. I just I would be curious if there's anybody who could do like the math, you know, of the speed, but we don't know how close or far it is from the camera.
Right.
And small objects going fast, like, can look faster than they're really going. So there's, it's hard.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you see the full speed video, it is going very fast. And if it's as far away for it to be a bird of that size, I think that it would be going quite fast. So I lean more towards it's probably a bug or something like that that's, you know, really close and flapping its wings going that direction. The other thing that really sticks out to me is that this is at an air show. There's a really cool plane flying low over the ocean. There has to be other people that are taking that same video from other angles.
Right.
So it seems like if it really was a big anomalous object coming from the sea, that we would have other people have seen it in real life or captured it on video and would have come out.
Right. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I mean, I think like this has made enough of a social media buzz that if anybody was there also filming this jet, okay, I just found the full video of it with no sound. But again, like this is insanely hard to see. Let me share the screen here with you guys. Give me one second.
Of course, it kind of actually gives weight to it being UFO, right? Like something that's so fast, you know, that you're not seeing with your naked eye, right? That only
right. All right.
And I think regardless, it's awesome that they publish this video, whatever it is, because it's just more data.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's I think that's really the thing that maybe people maybe tend to believe this a little more because it wasn't released. There was no, you know, like scientist review. There was no article. It was just like this guy saw something after he reviewed his footage and put it up and was like, and he has a following. I think that's what really,
and Jeremy,
like he's got a blue check mark. Like, Jeremy replied to it. Like this got some attention from a bunch of people. So I think that's why it sort of blew up and went viral. But here's the full video. Yeah, it's already, I mean, like, it's so hard to see.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming out right now. It just flew up. Like, yeah, I mean, this is something that you have to kind of go and look at yourself. And if somebody didn't slow this down, it would be very, very difficult to see.
Yeah, I'm surprised he spotted it reviewing his footage.
I agree. Well, I mean, but then again, I'm sure if he's looking at it on his iPhone 11 Max or 12 Max or whatever he's got, 13, and it's a huge phone, which he's probably got the newest one, and he's just looking at the jets that he filmed. I bet on that original version with the crystal clear, you know, image and original footage, I bet he saw it right away. And I'm betting that this upload of it does it zero justice. Maybe, you know, if you were looking at it on the phone, it would look, you'd be able to tell, okay, that thing's not a bird. But I think we're getting some degradation here. I mean, look at the sea, look at the ocean. It looks so pixelated. It looks so just like there's like I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11 boats out there. I don't think they're waves because you don't see anywhere waves cresting anywhere except for right up on the shore. So it's a pretty calm day. So, I mean, you could barely make out that those are boats. You know, like this is
wondering if it's a bug though, closer to the kid, because the speed is something like to think about. You know, that is definitely like it's a problem. I would say, like for the bird theory, I did, by the way, like go through different videos of like seagulls, like where there were a bunch of seagulls on screen, and I tried to like look at seagulls in the background and catch a weird flying anomaly. But I will say there were lots of bugs. So, like, you know, when I was slowing down and stuff, there were definitely a lot of fast moving bugs, and bugs look crazy, guys. They do not come across how they are on camera. They are so distorted.
The only reason why I'll rule out bugs is because I used to live here, and I don't know, you're on the coast rather. The beach is pretty windy. Bugs tend to not hang out there because they can't fly in that kind of wind. And I mean, you go to any South Florida beach, you're going to have something coming off of that ocean at least 5 knots.
We've got the mosquitoes in Texas, even on the coast.
Yeah,
but I think when you get to the shoreline, they're not there. Yeah, they're not there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you go a mile inland or half a mile inland, it's mosquito central.
Yeah.
But you don't get bit on the beach by mosquitoes.
No,
you know, so that's why I would kind of maybe rule out the bug thing. I genuinely think this is a seagull. It's at the perfect distance, and I think the velocity of this bird is what's carrying it up so quickly, because it's diving for this bait, missed or got it, and then took off to circle around to either look for another bait fish or whatever. I think that's what I think it is. I mean, but again, could be wrong. Like I'm not definitive about it. But would I put it on the desk of a senator? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Better than the one that they did put on the desk of the senators or the congressman.
Oh man, that's true. I will give you that. It was definitely better than that.
I don't know if it's better than that one. I would say it's similar. Yeah, similarly interesting. You know.
Well, they're definitely just as fast. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I feel like they fly by the screen at the same speed. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to get into this touch on this Magic Mountain thing that Carl Vibe put out, and I'm going to talk to Carl. I didn't try to book anybody this week because I thought you were going to be gone, rather. So I was like, you know, let's. And I didn't do the review. We were going to review the aerial school sighting, but you weren't going to be here, so
yes, I need to watch that.
I was like, you know, let's push it back. So, and there was so much news that came out this week. So, I mean, we're not going to get to everything, but I think this is something, and I put this link in the description below. It's 58 minutes long, this presentation from Carl Vibe. I highly recommend you go and watch this. I'm going to share the video, a bit of this right now, and we'll talk about it. Jane, have you seen any of this?
No, I heard the buzz of Carl Vibe, though, that there was a lot of like buzz about his presentation.
So let me give you a little background on this. So Carl Vibe, he has a channel with 3 million followers. And he normally does like videos with his kids jumping RC cars and a whole bunch of other stuff. And but he lives in in Utah, and so on his spare time, he's got a Ford Raptor. He goes out into these plains and he goes and finds petroglyphs. And after doing this for a year, he became friends with essentially a rancher out there and talked him into, hey, can I hang out on your ranch at night? You know, after talking to him, found out that they've had weird experiences. And the first night he goes out there, he brings one of his friends, and also the security guard for the ranch is there. So there's 3 witnesses to this, and they're all looking through this infrared camera. And essentially, he's calling this the mystery at Magic Mesa. He's calling this Magic Mesa. He hasn't unveiled where it is. He's very protective of the people that live there, and he doesn't want to put all their names out. It's just not time yet. It's not that time yet. But what is fascinating about this footage is you've got a mesa that is massive, and we saw something similar to this in season 1 of the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, where the mesa lit up at night in infrared, and we haven't seen it since. But Carl's found this mountain where it happens all the time. And he's been back and forth to this mesa documenting this, and he's caught some very big interest in this. And we talked for about an hour behind the scenes, and I grilled him on this. Absolutely grilled him as best I could, and I came away going, this is really cool. Like, this is cool, and I'm curious to know what Mick West is going to think about this, if he's even commented or seen this yet. But I'm going to play a little bit of this. So they're at the mountain. It's at night. He's there during the day showing people the mountain, so you can see scale-wise how big it is, and then he overlays what happens at night, what's showing up on this mesa at night over the day, so you can get an idea of how big these projections are. So this mesa is getting light projections that you can see with a naked eye, but you see even better in infrared. and it lights up this massive mesa, shows up as triangles, shows up as squares, shows up as rectangles. It moves at one point where it looks like lava spreading across the mesa. It's very, very cool. Again, I've got the description or I've got the link in the description below, but I just wanted to watch a couple of minutes of this and show you guys this footage.
Whoa, dude. We just saw it a second ago completely light up. Yeah, that whole left side. Uh-huh. There it is. There it is. Right here. Look, it just appeared. What is going on? Look at that. It's a perfect square flashing on and off on the side of the hill. It's moving across the mesa to the right. It's spreading to the right. It's coming down the hill like an avalanche. I'm getting it all on camera. It's spreading like a mud flow. The whole mesa is lit up.
Do you know if this is an infrared camera, Lou?
It is.
Gone.
It is.
What the
Yeah.
hell was that? This is for real. There it is. See it?
Yeah.
The whole side of the mesa is lit up. This whole lower section. Oh, there's my portable speaker. It's just moving around. What is going on?
There it is.
Big square. See that?
That's wild.
I can see
Whoa.
it. Vision there. See it? Oh, look at that. See it? Look at that. Pulsing. Look at that square.
It's got like a defined edge right here.
Yeah. It's coming down the mesa. Look at it. And
The whole mesa's lit
the
up.
whole mesa's lit up. You see it on camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
That's the
crazy.
security
Whole
guard talking,
thing's
by the
lit up.
way.
It's like an iridescent glow. And gone.
Oh, there were shadows going across it.
What?
Yeah.
Check this out.
That is
Are we
crazy.
are we at the edge of where like
Sorry,
two
the connection
parallel
to it's getting a little
dimensions are
funky.
running together like a thin spot? Like
Jump through.
crawl up there and go check it out.
So I don't know if you
Go
see
say hi to
like
that shadow thing up there moving around.
Check it.
It's still
it's
going.
moving.
Yeah.
Still all the way up on the left side.
Look at that.
Oh, that shadow. Oh, my God. That
Did you
shadow.
see that thing look like it was walking?
That was crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
Like,
Yeah,
this
it is
pretty
bizarre.
wild. Dude, it's pretty wild, man. Watch
Go
the
up
shadow
there
on the
and go
bottom
check it
right
out.
of
Go say hi to
that lit
shadow
up
thing
area.
there moving around.
It's sort of in the middle now. It
It's
looks like a
still
lump in
going.
the middle,
Yeah.
like it's
Still all the
moving.
way up on the left side.
Now look at that.
Oh,
Just
that
got up
shadow. Oh,
and
my God.
walked.
That shadow. Oh, that was crazy. Yeah, that was
wild.
crazy. Wow. It is so bright.
And just to
Yeah,
give you a
and
heads
it's
up,
like-
like again, like so this is what the mesa looks like during the day. And then this is the section that's lit up at night that he's sort of showing you here in a combined shot. When I tell you I grilled Carl for an hour about this, like the only possible explanation that I could maybe think of would be it reminded me a lot of, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this like 3-dimensional hologram spaces that you could work with where it's got like a box of sand and then it projects a map on that box of sand and you can move the sand and it puts in water once you go below the water table and like you could literally move mountains in this sandbox. That's kind of what this reminded me of. And I also had mentioned an article that was released, I'm trying to remember who it was, about people complaining about getting scanned by something in the sky. And it turned out to be a survey plane going over that area. But that's just one line that goes across. It doesn't light up an area. So this to me was the coolest thing that came out of this entire conference. And it seems like people missed this one. And I'm saying, hey, you should pay attention to this because this is pretty cool. What did you, I mean, I saw your face rather. You were kind of impressed by it, it seemed like.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. You know, it kind of reminded me of like, illuminating algae in the ocean or something like that. But then you look at it in daytime, it doesn't look like there's anything growing there. And, the other thought is that, maybe it's just, residual heat from the daytime, but it changes. It turns off and then it turns back on and it has different shapes.
Like a switch, like a light switch. Like it doesn't gradually go out. pops on.
My guess is that there probably is a prosaic explanation for it, but I can't guess what it is, and I'd be very interested to know the explanation, regardless of whether it's prosaic or supernatural or UFOs.
Well, some of my suggestions to Carl were obviously first take it to Mick West, just give it to him, because again, we've already listed those reasons. But the second thing I told him to do, one of the things I told him to do was, I would call your local universities that have done geological work in that area and see if there's anything local that is not well known, like an algae or like something that's like something in that rock that maybe, I don't know, the moon, somebody said in the chat, like a moon reflection, it could be a moon reflection. Maybe, but to shut off like that, like, I don't think so. Like, the moon doesn't shut off like that. And if it's a cloud, it would gradually disappear, not just shut off. Considering how, look how big this mesa is. Like, it's a big, not a mountain, but it's, I could tell you it would probably, I think if I remember correctly, Carl says it takes about an hour to get up to the very top of it.
He needs to go there and film it from there.
He's doing that. He's doing that. Like, this is something that just happened pretty recently. So there's a lot of different things he wants to do. The one thing I told him was like, hey, are there any roads that maybe are up higher that are, on a downhill slope where a car comes around a bend and it projects something,
maybe,
but again, like, though, I feel like it would be a pattern. It wouldn't just come off and come on if it was something like that.
And there's such defined edges. It's bizarre.
Also, there's no freeway system there. This is out in the middle of nowhere, so like, you can't create that effect with a big, 4x4 truck and a whole bunch of floodlights. Like, it's not gonna happen like that. At least I don't think. And I can't picture Carl doing something like that. Again, I'm putting a lot of faith in people that I haven't met, but the interactions I've had with Carl, he's not the hoax guy. Like, he's got a huge influence. When I tell you he's got 3 million followers, I'm not kidding. He's got 3 million followers, and his channel's very family centric. BSing people is not something that is on brand for him. So, he was super excited about this. And so were a ton of other people that he talked to. And I was like, yeah, I think he got something here, man. But Jane, I mean, what are your thoughts? Have you ever heard of anything like this?
I've never seen anything like that. I've just been like Googling because I'm so curious. Like, I love things like this that are like, oh my gosh, like, what could this be?
Right.
I'm leaning with rather just like gut instinct, no evidence, just that there could be a prosaic explanation. I think questions would be like, what was the weather like? Is this something that's like a regular thing, like every night? I mean, obviously it's reflecting something, and just like my brief Googling, there's things like, and I kind of recall looking into in the past, things like light pillars, and, there's Aurora Borealis and all that sort of thing. So I'm wondering if there could be a prosaic explanation, but I might be surprising, guys. I get just as excited about learning new things potentially about like how our world works as I do about aliens. So like, this could be a new weather phenomenon. Like, we might understand something about just planet Earth better by like looking into this more. So like, bravo, Carl. That's we should get him on.
No. Where
maybe he could do some.
I promise you, I'm going to try and get him on next week. I'll hit him up.
Yeah.
I don't know how busy he is, but I know he's been very busy ever since he's sort of been putting this together. But he definitely promised that he'll come on the show and we can interview him and talk to him about it. He's been on the show many times before. Cool. It's cool.
I'm excited for him that he got to be there and like experience that live, even if he find some explanation for it later. I mean,
well, what's even better is that he's got other instruments there that are measuring things. It's not just the night vision camera. But the coolest thing about this is that you've got 3 independent witnesses, one of them who has nothing to do with this experiment, but just because Carl was at the gate and it was like, yeah, hey, this is what we're doing, because he had to go to the gate and then the security guard had to come to the gate, and obviously he talked to the owner of the ranch, and then when he got there, he's like, so what are you guys doing out there? You know, are you camping or something? He's like, no, this is what we're looking for, UFOs. We got this camera, we got this, blah, 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 blah. We're gonna check out the petroglyphs. And then this happens, you know, like, dude. And the fact that he's got the security camera guy recorded as he's looking through it, you know, like, so there's a lot of just variables to this that are just very, very,
in an area
very,
where
very cool.
stuff happens and where there's petroglyphs. It's not just like a random spot.
Yeah.
You know,
this is the Uintah Basin, you know, like this is that whole basin. So, just keep an eye out for Carl Vibe. I think he's gonna be. He's
a true mystery.
Don't be surprised if a TV show pops up about this. Like, this is cool. It's very, very cool. But yeah, so congratulations, Carl. I think that was the coolest thing. Other than that, or doing the balloon launch with Chris Lato and those guys, that was pretty fun too. So yeah, overall, I think it was a fun weekend for UFOs. You know, it could have been worse, right? Like, I mean,
it's been worse in the past, right?
Way worse. I mean, just in the last 2 months, we've had big time movement on the disclosure clock back here. But just so everybody knows, we're still on. Let's see here. It'd be almost 8:20 on the disclosure clock, which is John Greenwald, a quarter past John Greenwald. And then so when we strike 9 o'clock, we'll be at Neil deGrasse Tyson. We'll have now believed that there's actually UFOs in our airspace. So hopefully we get to 9 o'clock soon, I guess is what I'm saying. What do you guys got coming up this weekend? Anything fun? Anything cool on the channels?
Well, I've got right now, people go check out, I watched the Lex Friedman Joe Rogan podcast, well, most of it, and
I watched that right before
they
the show
went for
started.
like over 20 minutes about UFOs, and they dropped a little Bob Lazar, like little mini bomb in there, so you guys can check it out and tell me what you think.
Jane, have you listened to the Gary Nolan Lex Friedman podcast?
No, I swear it's like when people tell me to watch things, I don't know what happens. Like I don't watch them.
Well, I saw
everything else, but
I saw your video breakdown of the Rogan one, and I was like, man, if she sees this one, she's gonna flip out. Like,
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it.
It is a good one.
I heard it's like what I hear. Everybody, by the time something gets to like a point where everybody's telling me about it, I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I don't need to watch it anymore.
That one is really good, and then also the Salvatore Pais, Kurt Jaimungal one is amazing. And I meant to play a clip from Sean Webb. We'll get to that next week. We'll talk about it because it just deserves more time to talk about what Sean Webb pulled out of that discussion. Very, very cool, so and Sean Webb's got some of those intelligence community connections. So you've got SCU conference coming up. You got a red-eye flight coming tonight.
Yeah, a couple hours heading out there. Also just filmed a video about dark matter, doing some editing on that, so my channel as well. So
right on. Do you know if that's coming out next week?
Yeah, maybe this weekend if I have enough downtime after the conference. Well, if I'm not out partying with Eric Davis and Jay Stratton.
Fingers crossed. That's exactly what you're doing. I want some stories when you come back, man. All right, you guys. Well, that was the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I had fun. This was a good show. This was a fun weekend. Before we get out of here, of course, I want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all the tunes on the show. This show will be available on iTunes and Spotify. Please leave us a rate and review. It goes a very long way. I want to say thank you to the Patreon members, the YouTube members, the super chatters and moderators. Thank you guys so much for your donations. It makes the house go round. If you want to donate, please check out our Patreon. It's a great way to support the show. If you guys can't support the show with the almighty dollar, no worries. There's no paywalls here at the Unidentified Celebrity Review. All of our content is free, so enjoy at your leisure. Let's see here. What else? Don't forget, we are a StreamYard affiliate, so if you're looking to start your own show using the StreamYard platform, we've got a link below that'll give you a discount, so click it. And we've also, like I said earlier in the show, I am part of the UAP Society, so if you want to check that out and see what that's all about, We discussed it a little bit during the show. The link is in the description there as well. Let's see here. What else am I missing? Oh, yes, we got links for Jane. We got links for Rather. We've got links for the merch store and the Discord down below. You guys going to be doing Discord today?
I have to like re-download Discord. Like I tried to do it back and I didn't really like fall into the habit of it. I just need to.
We'll get you there.
I never really learned Discord, so
that's okay. Trust me, I'm barely knowledgeable.
Yeah, you can't be worse than Lou.
But yeah, I want to be. I want to be.
Can't be worse.
I want to be in Discord. That's
it's fun. Fun discussion.
Where the cool people are. So
no, I'll try to be there while I'm doing some last minute packing.
Right on. Well, you should be packed. You should be on a plane. You should be packed. No, what are you packing?
Yeah, no, I'm last minute, but I'll be in there.
Oh man! All right, you guys. Well, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for coming aboard, getting weird with us here on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. My name's Luis Jimenez. Until next time, you guys stay safe out there. Peace. I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.